In the early spring of 1939, the Pacific was as peaceful as its name. It rolled lazily down the long Australian coast, broke softly on the beaches, and into its harbors glided the great white ships of peace who sailed for the pleasure of it. In those days, Australia was a land of vast resources, untouched and unknown. She was a mighty giant asleep. Until one morning, this was no time for sleeping. It was a time for action. It was a time for giants. New ships must replace the losses from the deadly torpedoes. New ships to defend Australia's coastline. New ships to strike back at the enemy. New ships, and on a scale unprecedented in her history. Australia could build them herself. At river mouths and sheltered inlets around her long coastline, Australia tackled the job at first with little more than bare hands and sharp axes. Almost as though they had sprung from the soil overnight, the crude skeletons of tomorrow's ships rose up among the trees which gave them birth. The days of iron men and wooden ships were lived again, as out of Australia's forest came an Australian fleet. This was only the beginning. With speed born of Australian resourcefulness, the steel traceries of new shipyards began to thrust their fingers into the sky. The drawings were made. The blueprints were studied. White hot from the furnaces come the curved sheets of armor and the massive girders, bone and sinew of the modern ship of war. Crafty hands molded the long resilient ribs of the curving pattern of her sides. For in these frames lies a strength that will be tested by storm and torpedo. Through day and night, the unsleeping furnaces breathe their fire and steel. Gigantic hammers rise and fall, squeezing and shaping the tempered metal, like plasticine between finger and thumb, pounding out a relentless rhythm of speed, speed, speed. Look at these iron monsters. Today, they are the toiling slaves of the war that brought them into being. Tomorrow, they will work for peace. Tomorrow, they will build a great Australian industry. As fast as steel could roll from the mills, the long flat keels were laid down, and old and new shipyards took up the grim race to the sea, while the enemy surged down from the north. Out of the keels grew the floors and the ballast tanks. Up from the ballast tanks curved the stout steel ribs. Down from the giant cranes came the girders and the deck plates and the broad steel armor to hang on her sides. Australia was building ships, building them fast, and she is building more while you watch this film. Honor these men of steel. With muscle and with craft, they are protecting Australia as surely as if the guns were in their hands. And this is where they keep their bullets, for rivets are bullets in the hands of the shipbuilder. Watch this one, red hot and glowing, as it is passed from the heater to the rivet catcher. Tireless machines and tireless muscles do the rest, riveting the stout curved plates with their fiery buttons and sealing them tight. The screaming song of the riveter and the drill are never silent. It is the brave music of shipbuilding, strident and unceasing. And what lies ahead of all this activity? This ship will carry cargoes of food and supplies to soldiers in the north. This strange-looking craft will bite the sand of a hostile shore and send its load of fighting men yet another stage on the road to Tokyo. This ship will comb out coastal seas, protecting our men from the menace of floating mines. This one will seek out and destroy the deadly Japanese submarines. Yes, the giant is awake. Australia is building ships on a magnificent scale for so small a population. Building ships and learning as she is building. From tiny beginnings, Australia has advanced to a production undreamed of before the war. And with Australia's vast resources, the sky is the limit. From wooden ships to steel ships, from riveted ships to welded ships. Into 4 short but momentous years, Australia has condensed the technical progress of a century. Somewhere in Australia, 100% welded ships are breaking production records. Cradled in vast revolving wheels, these ships are turned over slowly as the welding process advances, just like a gigantic roast beef on a spit. The future is already taking shape. From day to day around our coast, dreams are coming true. Plans are turning into facts. The efforts of Australia's shipbuilders are finding their climax in scenes like this and like this, as fresh chapters are added to this new Australia story. Australia is proving every day that the blood which built Britain's great traditions of ships and men and oceans is flowing proudly in our veins. And Australia's voice, young but strong, has joined worthily in that chorus which sings a sea tradition of 1,000 years. Rule Britannia. Britannia rules the waves.